Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Football Fanatic. And to you new subscribers to the channel, firstly, thank you for subscribing to the channel. But this is the series in which I talk about the most interesting things that I've seen across the world of football, ranging from managers to tactics to players to teams. And following the culmination of the group stages in the European Championships, today I wanted to talk about the best thing that I saw, and that was Switzerland against Germany. Of course, there was so much drama throughout the group stages, and especially in the match day 3 as teams were looking who was going home and who was going to go through to the next round. But I looked at the way that Switzerland played against Germany, and I think that there's a lot of things to take away from it. Not just for Switzerland themselves, who can take a lot of hope going into their game against Italy, but also a Germany side who many touted as the favorites, myself included. And I think that game showed me that this team definitely has a lot of weaknesses that a much better side than Switzerland will take advantage of. But before we get into that, please, those of you who are new to the channel, make sure you like and subscribe. The last video did incredibly well, and I'm so grateful to every single one of you who stopped by. If you're stopping by again and you didn't subscribe the last time, make sure you subscribe down below. Hit the notification bell so you're never, ever missing out on a video. But without further ado, let's get back into the football. Now, of course, coming into this game, this was a game that Germany knew that they had already qualified to the next round. All the onus was on Switzerland. They had to win this game or at least get a point to secure their progression to the next round. So that is something that needs to be taken into account. But I looked at the way the Switzerland team played. They were so dynamic, so intense, so quick in transition. And I'm going to show you examples of many of the things that I noticed throughout the game. And the first place we're going to start off usually is the way in which both teams set up. Now, we've talked about Germany's setup throughout the tournament in the last video as well, with the Toni Kroos video. They're 3-3-3-1. I've mentioned it before. I don't really need to explain it again. But Switzerland as well, they set up in a 3-4-3. You have those 3 center backs, those 2 flying wing backs, your 2 midfield enforcers and midfield conductors really, as well as Granit Xhaka in that midfield area. And then your 3 players up top with 2 supporting 10s behind the striker. And you see it in the way that they set up perfectly. 5 at the back, your 2 midfielders, and then your 3 players up top. Germany likewise with their 3-3-3-1. And from this picture, you can see immediately what Switzerland were planning to do in this game. They instilled a mid block, which essentially means that they kind of occupy halfway through the field. They're not too deep, but they're also not playing too high of a line that they can be exploited in behind. Germany don't have that much threat going the other way, so they were able to press Germany as high up as they could. And that was the key thing that I noticed throughout this game. Germany in this game, we talked about in the last video, Toni Kroos loves to set the tempo, loves to dictate the game. But this Switzerland side did not let them do that. They rarely at any time let them have any time to think on the ball, any time to conduct the game, any time to really create any real chances of any substance in this game. And that was something that I really admired, because when you're playing a team better than you, you have to make it difficult for them. Even though you know you may not get the result at the end of the day, you have to make it a difficult game for them. And in this game, Switzerland did just that. You look at it from the first minute, Mbolo leading the press, Toni Kroos playing out in that left center back position that we talked about so many times. And one thing that I noticed in this game, even from the first minute, Switzerland was so quick to press the wide areas. We talked about this. This Germany squad is littered with so much quality in every single area of the field. Musiala, Toni Kroos, Florian Wirtz, etc., etc. But one place they don't have that many great players. If we're being very honest, they're fullback positions. Joshua Kimmich and Mittelstadt, they're not 2 of the best fullbacks in the world. Now, there's a huge shortage of genuine quality in the fullback areas across European football, but those are not they're not 2 very good fullbacks, no matter what you're considering. So I feel like Switzerland really took advantage of that. Especially Toni Kroos playing in that left center back position, they took advantage of that. They sort of used the touchline as a sort of extra defender to try and make it harder for Germany to play out of the press that they create. You look at this example here from the first minute. This is in the first minute. He plays the ball out to Toni Kroos. He's being pressed immediately to the point that he has to play it back to his goalkeeper. His goalkeeper gets the ball back, and look how they press. So organized. And this is the thing. It was a very, very intricate, very planned man-to-man press from Switzerland. It wasn't just willy-nilly, everybody press whoever you can. It was man-to-man, it was planned, it was so precise. You had Ndoye going to Rudiger, you had Mbolo pressing the goalkeeper, the wingbacks were pressing the other wingbacks. It was so precise. He plays the ball to Antonio Rudiger here. Antonio Rudiger plays the ball and it goes out for a throw-in, and Switzerland win the ball back in just the first minute. The first minute, they've already shown what their plan is for the game. Look at another example here. Mittelstadt picks up the ball. He has to play it back to the goalkeeper. And Mbolo presses Manuel Neuer. Manuel Neuer kicks the ball out and the ball goes out for a throw-in. Just in 5 minutes, 2 situations already in which Germany have played the ball out wide and Switzerland have pressed them immediately. And to talk more about that man-to-man press, in this game, Musiala and Florian Wirtz were nowhere near the level that they needed to be. To take advantage in a game like this, they were nowhere near. And I felt like that was mainly down to the man-to-man press. And you can see it in this example here. Manuel Akanji, he's the right center back in this team. Is he the right center back? I believe he's the central center back. He's either the central center back or the right center back. Look at how far he's going to track Jamal Musiala. And Toni Kroos sees Musiala, but look at how far Manuel Akanji has moved to track him. He's making his life so difficult by following him no matter where he goes. And you're going to see more examples of this even with Florian Wirtz on the other side of the field. You go on to the next example. They play the ball out wide. Granit Xhaka is already instructing his players, you need to move. You can look at him here. He's instructing his players, you need to move. You need to make that press. You need to start the press. You're the trigger. Because that's what they had in this game. They had a pressing trigger. Many teams have it. It's essentially the action that tells you now it's the time for us to press. And for Switzerland, it was whenever the ball went out wide. I'm not saying that through the center, they weren't pressing as well. But mainly down the wings, they were really, really quick to hone in on the German players. In this situation here, the ball goes out to Kimmich. Xhaka instructs his player to come out. You look at Florian Wirtz, look at the position he's in. He's in open space. Ricardo Rodriguez, quick to come out, quick to close down the space, quick to make Florian Wirtz's life difficult. That man-to-man press we talked about. Look at another example here. It looks like Germany are in good position. Look at Jamal Musiala. Look at the position Jamal Musiala is picking up. He's trying to get towards the ball. He's trying to come towards the ball and kind of infiltrate the game and have an impact. But look at Ricardo Rodriguez, continuously pressing him, constantly on his back, constantly on his shoulder, not allowing him any time to think. Even while Ricardo Rodriguez is pressing him, you have Granit Xhaka as well on top of him, doing likewise, not making it easy for this Germany side. You flick it onto the next one. Toni Kroos receives the ball here. We talked about how much Toni Kroos loves to have the ball, loves to dictate the game. He's always the spare man for Germany. In this game, he was good. I'm not saying that Toni Kroos wasn't good in this game. He definitely played his part in this game, and he was crucial to Germany getting a result from this game. But you look at the way that they pressed him, not just in this example, in many examples throughout the game, so as to allow him to make a mistake. Here, he receives the ball. Granit Xhaka makes a tackle on him. This ended up being a foul, which in all actual fact was not a foul. He got the ball, but I guess Toni Kroos played it off in a way that the referee believed that it looked like a foul. But in this situation here, he wins the ball high up the field and Switzerland would have been on their way. Those two center backs that I talked about in previous videos, isolated one again. Look how high up the wing backs are. Look how isolated those two center backs are. Against better opposition, those mistakes are going to be taken advantage of. Those mistakes are going to be taken advantage of. You move it on to the next one. Here, Florian Wirtz receives the ball. We talked about how they like to press the wings. They like to press the wide areas. They're not just going to press the wide areas. They will also press the center. Florian Wirtz receives the ball here. He's not on his toes. He's not alert to the danger. Mbolo, quick, receives the ball. Receives the ball, takes the ball from him, and they go for a counterattack. Doesn't lead to anything, which was a very, very, very bad part on Switzerland in this game. They were very wasteful with a lot of chances they had. They were quick to win the ball back, and their counter press was incredible. I'll show you an example of that. But whenever they had the ball, it just felt like they were so slow and methodical, and they were very wasteful. There were at times where they needed that little bit of quality, and it just wasn't there. Another example here of the man-to-man press, Akanji, quick onto Florian Wirtz. Look how quick he is onto him. Look how high up Manuel Akanji has gone up. But he can do that because he knows there's a structure in behind him that's still going to allow his team to be in a good structure if he's bypassed, which Musiala did at certain times. But Florian Wirtz was pretty poor at doing that. Toni Kroos is instructing his players where they need to be. Where do you need to be? Where do I need to go? Who needs to press who? That man-to-man press again. Look at the wing backs of Switzerland. Look at the number 10s of Switzerland. Look at the striker of Switzerland. Look at Granit Xhaka. So high, making it difficult for them. This ends up leading to him pinning the pass to Toni Kroos. Toni Kroos receives the ball in this position. They then shuffle it across to Jonathan Tah. Look at the press from Switzerland. Continuously moving, continuously moving. The same situation here. He plays the ball out wide. Mittelstadt is stuck. They're essentially channeling them to those wide areas. They allow them to play through the center. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the passes are going out wide, which is Switzerland want the passes to go to because they have overloads on the wide areas with the right center backs, with the wing backs, as well as with the number 10s that tuck out wide to support those wing backs. And they win the ball back here. And unfortunately, it didn't lead to anything, as I said, because Switzerland were pretty wasteful in this game. But as I said before, if you're playing a better team who are just as good as this Switzerland team at pressing, and if I'm being very honest, this wasn't a very intricate pressing structure from Switzerland. It wasn't as though their pressing structure was different to how their structure was in possession. It was pretty much identical. It was a man-to-man press. They don't have particularly athletic players. I look at a team like Spain, who have people like Lamine Yamal, people like Pedri, someone like Nico Williams, people like Rodri. If they play against this Germany team and they press the way this Switzerland team does, and they get the opportunities that this Switzerland team does, this game could have been 2 or even 3-0 by halftime. 2 or even 3-0 by halftime. But of course, Switzerland weren't just winning the ball off a counter press. They were at times also playing with it. They had overloads in certain situations, and whenever they lost the ball, that press came into fruition again, winning the ball back high up the field, continuously pressing your man, and the organization of the press is so good that you win the ball back. You look at it here. He plays the ball to Granit Xhaka, plays it over Kroos, and then he plays the ball back to the player that's supporting him. But then Gundogan then ends up intercepting that pass. He clears the ball, but then because the pressing structure is so good, Switzerland end up winning the ball back again, and Granit Xhaka picks the ball back up in this position, plays it out wide. It leads to a shot that doesn't really go anywhere. Again, winning the ball back in high areas of the field and leaving your men exposed with little to no support. That's only going to spell danger against genuinely good opposition. No disrespect to Switzerland. I was very impressed with how they played. But if you're replacing somebody like Mbolo for somebody like Mbappe, or you're replacing Ndoye for somebody like Lamine Yamal, or you're replacing somebody like Switzerland's fullbacks for somebody like Carvajal, or even a player like Theo Hernandez, I don't think you're going to get this much leeway or this much freedom as Germany did in this game. You look at the next situation here, constantly pressing you. Take a bad touch, they're onto you. Look at them, two people on him immediately. They win the ball back up. This is actually what led to the goal. They win the ball here, the ball gets played forward, intricate play from Switzerland, ball gets crossed into the box, and it leads to a goal. But that's that quick transition I'm talking about. Look at how they win the ball here. They have 5 players. 5 players against Germany's 5. The minute they win the ball back, Germany are rushing back to get players back. Nobody's in position. Nobody's in their right area of the field. Everybody's disorganized. That's how you prey on these top teams. Prey on their indecisiveness. Prey on their lack of quick tempo. Get at them when they're not playing at their highest level. And as I said at the start, Germany could have been playing in this game with a sense of, all we need is a draw. That could have been an element that came into play. I do believe that. But at the same time, Germany also knew that if they lost this game, they would have been second, which probably would have been better because they would have been on the other side of the bracket. But nevertheless, they would have wanted to finish first in this group, especially being the host nation. But again, you look at another example here. We talked about how they can play. They play overloads in the wide areas. They preyed on these German wide areas throughout the game. And this is why I say this weakness is very scary for Germany, because I look at a team like Spain who are so good in the wide areas, and I really, really fear for them. I really, really fear for them because I see someone like Lamine Yamal coming up against someone like Mittelstadt, or I see someone like Nico Williams coming up against somebody like Joshua Kimmich. That is a long day for Germany. That is such a long day. I don't think Alvaro Morata can run the defenders as ragged as somebody like Brillon Bolo did, because he's probably not as fast or as athletic. But even still, when you have those sort of wingers who can be your outlets, it doesn't really matter. And then when you also have a Spain midfield who are arguably better than Germany's midfield, let me not look too far forward. Spain still have to beat Georgia, Denmark still have to lose to Germany before we can even talk about Germany versus Spain. But these are just the little things that I noticed that I think this Germany team might be undone by much better opposition. You look at it here, intricate play. He plays a 1-2 with his man. The ball gets played forward. They then end up losing the ball, but a counter press wins the ball back for them, as I said. And look at this situation here. This is a situation for disaster. It is a situation for disaster. If Granit Xhaka ultimately he didn't end up playing a good pass in this situation, it was intercepted. But if he actually played a good pass here, a good pass into good space, look at Ndoye's run. He would have been onside, and he would have been gone 1v1 versus the goalkeeper. And you think he's not going to score that? Mbappe is not going to score that? Alvaro Morata is not going to score that? Lamine Yamal is not going to score that? Ronaldo is not going to score that? This is what I mean. Against better teams, if they implement this very well thought out process that Switzerland employed in this game, pressing Germany, consistently staying on top of them, and of course using those touch lines as an extra defender. I think Germany could really sweat in this tournament. Of course, the first 2 games, they were brilliant, they looked imperious, but I always felt like you're playing a Hungary team that have not looked good throughout the tournament. You're playing a Scotland team that are arguably the worst team in the tournament. I'm not saying this Germany team is they're a fraud team or they're not as good as we think they are. They are a good team. But I watched this game against Switzerland and I was seeing a bit of the Joachim Löw, a bit of the Hansi Flick creeping back into this Germany side. I'm not sure. I saw a bit of it and I did not like it whatsoever. Again, we look at it here, the way in which they play, so quick in transition. The players are in all sorts of positions. Look at Ricardo Rodriguez. He's already looking to the next pass. He pulls the defender out of position, and then the defender is able to play a lovely pass into Granit Xhaka. Plays a lovely touchdown, and then Mbolo's gone. Mbolo gets into a lovely position here. The right wing back is making a lovely run in behind Mittelstadt. These are the sort of runs I'm talking about. Lamine Yamal makes this run. Nico Williams makes this run. Bukayo Saka makes this run. He was in behind. He took a poor touch. Manuel Neuer cleans it up. As I said, against better opposition, you're not going to get that sort of luck. You are just not going to get that sort of luck. And this is another wasted opportunity by Switzerland. And I was frustrated watching the game because ultimately at the end of the day, Germany would go on to equalize because you can't play at this high tempo, pressing every single pass, pressing every single ball, committing as many fouls as they did without being fatigued towards the end of the game. There's a lot of good things for Switzerland. And I think we need to look at this and say, these guys were going to give Italy a good game. Because a lot of people are saying Italy might beat them. I'm not too sure about that. I think I watched this sort of game. I look at Germany. I definitely rate Germany much higher than Italy. I looked at Italy throughout the group stages and the way in which they played. That was not very convincing. I'll be very honest. They were not convincing in the group stages whatsoever. So I look at the way the Switzerland side played against Germany, against Hungary in that first half especially. I honestly will not be surprised if Switzerland pull off a massive upset because look at the way they played. If they play this way against an Italy team that are not as good as this Germany side, obviously Italy employ a different sort of system. It'll be interesting to see whether they play a back 3 or they play in the regular back 4 that they've been playing in the first 2 games. But either way, I very much expect Switzerland to give them a good game. And as for Germany, maybe minor things for Nagelsmann to look at. At the end of the day, it might be just because they already knew they were going through and also because they don't respect Switzerland as much. They might not play this expansive, this open against Spain. But these are definitely things you need to look at because better teams are going to take advantage of this. But of course, you guys need to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. Do you think Switzerland are going to give Italy a good game? Do you think I'm being overly nuanced and all of these things are not things that Germany need to worry about? Or are they actually things that Germany need to take note of against much better sides? As always, as I said, thank you guys so much for tuning into the video. I appreciate it very much. Leave a like, comment down below your thoughts, discussions, anything you want me to talk about in any other videos in the future. But as always, it's au revoir from me. Take care of yourselves.